Hi, today we're going to be talking about the 7363. This is a remote unit. I'm not actually hooked up to refrigeration or to a remote fill, but I should be able to talk you through it. We're mainly interested in how to take the machine apart, put it together, lube it, sanitize it, charge it. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is put our rear seal together. I'm going to place the large end of the plastic over my thumb. Going to grab the rubber seal part of it. I'm going to get it up close with my fingers. Then I'm going to push and walk it around until it's on. I'm going to take my dasher, put some lubricant, three pencil eraser size blobs on the end of the shaft here on the shoulder. Take the rear seal, place it on, give it a little bit of a spin so it will stay. Next, I'm going to take our scraper blades, and I'm going to take advantage of the fact that we have two flats on here. These flats allow the blade to go on and then lock into place. They just easily snap on. Next, I'm going to take the stator rod, put a little bit of lubricant behind the head, just a little bit on the end. Push it through the hole in the front of the auger, picking up the hole in the back. This assembly is ready to go in. So I'm going to walk over to the machine. I'm going to place this into the barrel until I feel it hit in the back, and then I'm going to spin it until this square part of the shaft aligns with the square female part behind. I'm going to do it with the blades up. If I do it with the blades over, I'm going to have to fight getting it in. So if you put the blades on top, holding onto the front of the stator rod, it makes it much easier. Back until I hit, I'm going to keep contact with the stator rod, spin it until it engages. Next, I'm going to assemble the front plate. I get our spigot plunger, roll on two O-rings. I'm going to get some lubricant. Put just a little on each O-ring, walk it around with my finger, take the excess, fill in the gap between the two O-rings with lubricant. Next, I'm going to grab a front plate. The whole idea of assembling this is to, when we get this plunger in place, line this hole up with that slot. I start with it 90 degrees off. Give it a little twist and turn as we go over the second O-ring. The first one slips right by until that hole lines up. Next, I'm going to take the handle, line the ball of the handle up with the holes that we've lined up. The flats on this I'm going to place in between the two clear ears and run the fast pin through it. Next thing, I need to assemble all of these little parts so that I can bleed off the extra air. It's our relief valve. I'm going to show you how it goes together, but I would highly recommend that you don't take it apart each time that you clean, or you're going to lose one of these four parts and your machine will be down, unless you have spares. So, I'm going to place this out of the way for a second. Take the screw here. It's just a screw with the machine head machined off. Run the O-ring down on it. I'm going to grab my front plate, drop this down into the recessed hole hold it with your finger, flip it over, put on the spring, and then screw on the knob until you get just a little bit of tension on the spring. It has to have some tension or it will leak. If you take it and bottom the spring out, you won't be able to use its function. What this does is we'll be filling the machine up until it fills about 60%. We have an airlock in it with the machine off. We then push this button to relieve the air to get out. We don't want air in it when we first start it up. Last piece that goes on this is the front plate O-ring. Now it's ready to put onto the machine. We want to put this on, we want to be sure the handle's all the way down and that the handle is aimed up when we go to the machine. We're going to put this square knuckle into the square recess. We're going to start one knob, come over to this side, just barely start the first one, get the second one on, and then we're going to walk back and forth, a couple screws, turns at a time on each side until we get it up good and snug. Now we're ready to sanitize. Okay, as I said a minute ago, we need to sanitize now. I've already followed the instruction on the sanitizer that we supply. Read it, and you'll mix the right ratios. It's already mixed in. I need to get it into the machine. On this machine, the top lifts off. There's an inner lid that needs to come off. Pull back and lift it up. That exposes our little mix pan in here and the autofill system. So what we're going to do is we're going to put enough, about 1.5 gallons of sanitized water in here. I'm going to fill it, being careful not to put it in too fast so that it won't overflow into the machine. I'm going to take the brush that we supply with the machine, go around the edges of the pan and into the barrel with the machine off. This is really important. Okay, I have the reservoir filled. I was careful not to get the autofill portion of this wet. I took my time. I slowly filled the reservoir until air quit bubbling up. Now, as I was talking about before, I need to push the relief valve and hold it until I get a drop of sanitized water through it. There it went. Okay, we have sanitizer in with the machine off. We bled air through. Next thing to do is to turn the dasher on. We're going to let it run for about a minute. Shut it off and drain it. Okay, we're going to drain this out. Okay, we have drained out all the sanitizer we can get. Get this lid back on. The lid is made to where it just catches on this back portion. You put it towards you, lay the lid on top, shove it back. Grab the big lid, and thing to notice is there's a stop for the lid to only go down so far close toward the back. We have a larger gap toward the front. So this close screw goes toward the back. Okay, we have the sanitizer drained out as much as we can. I'm going to open the spigot and I'm going to turn on the fill. The fill would activate your autofill system back there and it would be pumping from your reservoir. So you hold this open until you get the same color and consistency coming out of this spigot that you do going into the pan. It won't take very much to push it out. With the machine off, push the relief valve one more time to let the air come out. As soon as you get one drop, let off. At that point, you would turn on your dasher and your freeze. Okay, it's the end of the day. We're going to clean the machine. What I have done is I have turned the fill off. I have dispensed all the product out that I could get, covered it up, put it back into the walk-in. The container was sanitized before. So the next thing I'm going to do is get the lid off. Get the inner lid off, sliding it forward. I'm going to take some lukewarm water with detergent in it. I'm being careful again not to get liquid on the autofill probe and the wires. I'm going to push the relief valve until I get a little product through again, release the air. And I'm going to turn the dasher on for about a minute to let it rinse and get everything that we can off. It makes it easier to clean later and not so much of a mess out by the machine. Shut it off. Dispense out the soapy water. Okay, I've dumped the soapy water out and put it into the sink. I'm going to take the machine apart now so that I can clean it. I'm going to get the two front plate knobs off. I'll put this container under to catch what's coming. We've got our front plate apart. As I said before, I really don't recommend taking the valve assembly apart. What I recommend you do is after you get all the parts back into your sink, and you've got this into soapy water, just push the button and swish it around a little bit, and then that should clean most of it off. Whatever might be left will be cleaned with the sanitizer, as I showed you earlier. We have to get the handle straight up and down, pull the pin, pull the handle, get the spigot plunger out, take a dry rag. I would come down to one end of it and get the extra lubricant off that might be on there. Move back to a place that's clean. Place the rag deep down into your hand like this. We're going to pinch and push on the sides here. Get the O-ring up. Grab it with my finger. Then I'm going to repeat the process on the first one. You want to do the back one first, so you're going to wind up doing it 3 times. Because you'll roll this one right into where the front one was. Pinch, push, comes off. I need to get this O-ring off. Smack it on your hand like that. It usually comes right out. I'm going to get the dasher assembly out. Stator rod comes off, just pulls right out. On these blades, you need to get them aimed straight up like that, and they pull off. Taking advantage of those 2 flats. Take the rear seal off. The rear seal comes apart by just holding onto the plastic with your hands. Get a rag, grab onto the rubber seal part of it, and pull it apart. It's important that all of this area gets cleaned out in here of old lubricant because it's more than likely holding bacteria. All of these parts go back to your sink to be washed, mild detergent, lukewarm water, and allow them to air dry. Be sure to bring some lukewarm water with mild detergent in it back, clean out the inside of the hopper, clean out the inside of the barrel, and then once a month or so, there's 2 probes in here that I want you to scuff up a little bit with Scotch-Brite. If the product gets caked onto it, the autofill won't work properly. Now's a good time to talk about the lines and cleaning them to your autofill system. Whenever you have your beer distributors come in and flush out the beer lines, also have them flush out these autofill lines. They have the equipment and they know how to do it. 188220 is the tune-up kit for a 7000363. Included are scraper blades, a brush, 4 spigot plunger O-rings, a front plate O-ring, a rear seal, and lubricant. Our part number 65633 stator rod, we recommend that it gets changed every other tune-up kit provided or installed, and those tune-up kits should be changed out every 6 months. This is our fast pin that goes through the front plate assembly to hold the handle in place. Its part number is 64255. If you need a new spigot plunger, we sell it in a kit with 2 O-rings, part number 188478. If you need our front plate with a pressure relief valve assembly, we sell it with the pressure relief valve assembled along with the front plate O-rings and 2 spigot plunger O-rings. Its part number is 18.